Welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Ted Flint. Joining us today, Assemblyman Paul Bologna, District number 144, the counties Erie and Niagara. Assemblyman Bologna, good to see you. I won't
Ted,
keep you
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I know you guys are busy. A 15th budget extender signed yesterday, and there's word on the street. I hear radio reports that there'll be a budget adopted possibly by week's end. Are you hearing anything different?
No, I think probably at some point in the next, 24 to 48 hours, we'll have a complete budget, which, great. 269 billion or whatever it is an asinine amount of money to spend on a lot of things, and I think that we're headed towards a fiscal crisis in this state. I've seen a lot of the budget bills. I've been briefed on a lot of the budget bills. I'm going to be voting no on the entirety of the budget. So I don't think that we're doing a really great job of spending taxpayer dollars. And, there's not a lot of stuff that I think that's that great in the budget.
Well, that was my next question. I mean, I heard 270 billion, but it's 269 close enough. I mean, it's only money, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to how the money is divvied up. I mean, are the people of the 144th in Erie and Niagara counties, are they getting what they perceive as their fair share? How are they making out with this budget?
No, and I think I always talk about this as like net positive investments. What are we investing in? And I think things like investing in infrastructure, investing in roads are really important. Investing in sewers, investing in water, and then I've talked about this ad nauseum. Investing in energy infrastructure too, whether that's electric lines, whether that's gas lines. Things that make energy easy to come by and more affordable. And we're not doing really any of those things. Frankly, we're actually making it more difficult for utility companies and energy companies to invest in infrastructure in this state. So, my colleagues across the other side of the aisle can say all the things that they want, but the fact of the matter is that the policy does not match what they're saying. They can repeat the word affordability on loop, but they are not doing things in this budget to make life more affordable for New Yorkers. I'm sorry, a $200 utility rebate check is a joke to most people. Again, I know that's something that our conference has talked about and supported. And again, I think that's a good first step. But until you fix the actual problem and the underlying energy crisis in New York State, you're kind of throwing good money after bad, where a $200 rebate check, energy or utility rebate check, coupled with actual long-term solutions for affordable energy, reliable energy for the future, is a solid plan. But just throwing money at people and throwing money at a problem, hoping that it goes away, and then changing some dates on a calendar and chalking it up to a win on energy is not a recipe for success in this state. And that is essentially what the governor and the majority parties in New York State have done. They're basically changing PR for political wins and talking points and not actually fixing the underlying policy.
Where is this $200 rebate check? Where's this money coming from? Is this some of the money that NYSERDA has been sitting on?
Yeah, again, I mean, they pretty much literally cherry picked this from our lower plan, but they left out the most important parts of the lower plan. So yeah, the NYSERDA has funding, and you and I pay for this in our utility bills as is. But going forward, we really do need to make massive adjustments to the way that we're doing energy.
You mentioned infrastructure, roads and bridges. I know you and your conference seeking an additional $250 million. Is that going to happen? Are you going to get close to that?
We'll see. I'm hoping that it does, but I mean, I think that's a drop in the bucket from what we actually need. There's a lot of roads in this state. There's a lot of local roads in this state. And I think that doing CHIPS and local infrastructure is critically important.
New York, as you know, is a large, diverse state with disparate needs. And it seems like a lot of the focus is on New York City. Does this particular budget reflect that again, you think?
Yeah, I actually did a video on this a couple of weeks back. And the fact of the matter is that there has been fiscal mismanagement in some of the major cities, and dare I say, some of the socialist cities of this state, whether it's, Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, New York City. You have executives and you have common councils that for years have mismanaged funds of the most major cities, because again, the premise is that we want to give everything to everybody. And you just fiscally can't do that. You eventually you run out of other people's money to spend.
Right.
And it is not the responsibility of New York State to bail out bad fiscal policy and mismanagement of these cities. And again, that's another proponent and reason that I voted against this budget, because I don't believe in fiscal bailouts of cities for poor mismanagement.
That's right. I know there was a report last week. New York City was 5.4 billion in the hole, and Mamdani wanted the governor to bail New York City out, and she said publicly that's not going to happen. Is it going to happen?
We'll see. I mean, I'm hearing reports that there may be things in the budget that do lift some of the burden. I mean, we saw part of the 3K. The 3K language in some of the budget bills that is specifically for New York City. And again, it's people in upstate New York and Western New York that are paying for programming in New York City. I just disagree with that fundamentally. I fundamentally do not believe that the hardworking middle-class folks in Western New York, farmers in the agricultural communities, blue-collar workers, union workers in Western New York should be paying for programming and bailouts for New York City.
What about school aid runs? I know a lot of school districts are in dire need this year. How about districts in your area? I mean, are they going to get the money they need? I guess it's 2%, right? The foundation aid.
And again, I mean, there needs to be a fundamental change in the way that we do school aid formula, and that's something that is going to have to be a broader conversation. But again, one of the things that frustrated me, and I got up and spoke on this on the floor last week, was with regards to the electric school bus. Now, the electric school bus mandate is now pushed off for another 5 years. But again, I still have schools in my district that are not only not wanted altogether, but it's still a full implementation. There needs to be an ease in if they're going to do this. There needs to be funding attached to it, or there needs to be a pilot program where you can do a singular bus at a time, where you're not replacing an entire fleet. Also, you and I have talked about this a lot. We don't have the technology yet. The technology is not there to get us to a place where we can start replacing entire fleets of buses. So I think that a 5-year pushback on that is politically convenient for the governor, because she doesn't want to have to deal with a massive "I told you so" from all of us. But I'm sorry, this is a massive "I told you so." And when you look at the energy portions of this budget, it is an acknowledgement of failed policies that has been passed by this governor and this legislature for the past 5 to 10 years. And the chickens are finally coming home to roost, and people are realizing that the math is not mathing. And that is ultimately where we are.
All right. So what's going to be your focus when this budget gets adopted from the last couple of weeks of session? What are you going to focus on?
Trying to block as much bad policy from coming to the floor as possible. I mean, that's really the name of the game at this point. The less, I've always said this, the less time that the New York State legislature is in session, the better off the people of New York State actually are. You do not want the legislature left to its own devices. You do not want a bunch of elected officials with time on their hands and time to kill, pontificating on policy that is only going to rob taxpayers of their hard-earned money and regulate the hell out of businesses out of New York State, and continue to basically force the exodus of capital, economic growth, people, and business out of this state. So I'm going to basically be putting on goalie pads and a helmet for the next week and a half, and try to block every bad piece of legislation I possibly can.
We should end it there. But there was a report last week that between 2020 and 2024, 892 businesses left New York State. $47 billion they took with them. Florida got most of those companies, 341 of those. Texas and North Carolina picked up the rest, but they don't get it.
It is a great time to be heading south and out of the state, because we do a bang-up job of keeping businesses here.
All right. If you want to get in touch with Assemblyman Paul Bologna, give him a ring in his district office in Clarence, and that number is 716-839-4691. Assemblyman Paul Bologna, always a pleasure. Good luck to you today.
Thank you very much, Ed. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Assembly Update. I'm Ted Flint.
Can we acknowledge